Betrayal at Forrester, Eric's new beginning with Katie's fashion empire. The corridors of Forrester Creations echo with tension as one of the most powerful dynasties in fashion faces its greatest upheaval in years. Eric Forrester, the legendary designer who built an empire from nothing, finds himself at a crossroads not because of age or health concerns, but because of pressure from his own son. Ridge's insistence that Eric step into retirement has ignited a family crisis that threatens to reshape the entire Los Angeles fashion landscape. The pressure mounts. Ridge forces Eric out. For decades, Eric Forrester's life has revolved around one singular passion: fashion design. Whether navigating corporate politics, surviving personal tragedies, or weathering countless family storms, the drawing board and design table have always been his sanctuary. Fashion isn't merely what Eric does, it's who he is. Even in an advanced age, his creative fire burns as intensely as it did when he first launched Forrester Creations. Ridge, however, sees things differently. Citing concerns about Eric's health and stamina, Ridge has been pushing his father toward retirement with increasing urgency. The younger Forrester believes that stepping back from the demanding world of high fashion is the best path forward, that Eric has earned a peaceful, well-deserved rest after all his decades of contributions. It's a perspective rooted in concern, yet one that fundamentally misunderstands what drives his father. The conversations between father and son have grown more strained with each passing day. "Dad, you've done enough. You've built this legacy. Let me take it from here," Ridge had urged, his voice carrying both determination and what he believed was paternal wisdom. But Eric resisted. The idea of surrendering his design responsibilities felt less like retirement and more like erasure, as if his relevance would vanish the moment he stepped away from the drafting board. Katie's crisis and an unexpected opportunity. While the internal conflict festered at Forrester Creations, another storm was brewing. Katie Logan, once a central figure in the company's operations and decision-making processes, found herself increasingly sidelined. The PR executive, who had poured her energy into building and protecting the Forrester brand, discovered that her contributions were no longer valued. Brooke and Ridge had shifted the company's direction in ways that left Katie feeling marginalized and disrespected. The moment of reckoning came unexpectedly. Katie learned that her position as head of public relations had been given to someone else, a professional demotion that struck at the heart of her professional identity. Humiliated and frustrated, Katie reached a breaking point. She had spent years serving Forrester Creations, only to be cast aside when her value was questioned. The decision crystallized in her mind. It was time to leave. But Katie's exit from Forrester might have been just another sad chapter of corporate politics, if not for a stunning gesture from an unexpected source. Bill Spencer, her estranged husband and one of Ridge's fiercest business rivals, surprised Katie with an extraordinary wedding gift, a fully functioning fashion house, ready for her to command and build into something magnificent. It was both a gesture of love and, perhaps, a calculated business move to position himself against Ridge's empire. An unlikely alliance takes shape. Feeling both displaced and empowered, Katie made a decision that would reshape the fashion industry in Los Angeles. She would take Bill's gift seriously. She would launch her own fashion company and prove that she belonged at the helm of a prestigious label. But a thriving fashion house needs talented designers, and Katie knew exactly who possessed the creative brilliance necessary to make her vision a reality. Katie sought out Eric Forrester. What happened in that conversation would set off a chain reaction that neither of them could have predicted. "Eric, I'm leaving Forrester," Katie told him directly, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was proposing. "Bill has given me a fashion house, and I want you to know something first before I announce anything to the family." Eric listened, his expression shifting from curiosity to something deeper as Katie continued. She spoke about her frustrations, her feeling of not being valued despite her years of loyal service. But more importantly, she looked directly at him and said something that resonated in his soul. "I know what's happening with you and Ridge. I know he's pushing you toward retirement. And I want you to know I think that's a mistake. Your talent has never diminished. You're as brilliant as you've ever been. Eric felt something crack open inside him. For weeks, he had internalized Ridge's pressure, questioning himself, wondering if perhaps his time truly had passed. But hearing it from someone he respected, someone who was also being pushed aside, stirred something within him. Without hesitation, he made Katie an offer that surprised them both. "Let me work with you. Let me help you build this company. Retirement isn't the answer for me, it never was. I need to create." The exodus begins. Katie's announcement that she was starting her own fashion house sent shockwaves through Forrester Creations. The news that Eric Forrester would be joining her as a designer was even more explosive. And it didn't stop there. Hope Sharp, Ridge's daughter, found herself caught between loyalty to her family and her recognition of a genuine opportunity. She had felt the creative restrictions at Forrester, the pressure to fit into a certain mold. When Katie approached her about joining the new venture, Hope had to make a choice. She could stay within the safe confines of family tradition, or she could take a chance on something fresh and revolutionary. In the end, she chose growth over security. Hope committed to heading up design for Katie's new fashion line. Dick Sharp, Hope's brother, had been feeling increasingly disconnected from Forrester Creations. When Forrester had let him go to reinstate Thomas as the lead designer, it had been a professional blow. But Katie's new company represented a lifeline, a place where he could prove himself without the weight of family expectations. Dick eagerly joined the team. Even R.J. Forrester, Ridge's youngest son, came aboard. The younger Forrester had watched the family drama unfold with growing frustration. He admired his grandfather Eric's creative genius and recognized that his father's approach was diminishing something essential. When Katie extended an offer to R.J., he accepted without hesitation, choosing to work alongside his grandfather rather than remain trapped in family politics. What had begun as Katie's personal struggle had evolved into something far larger, a genuine exodus from Forrester Creations, led by the company's legendary founder himself. Ridge's rage and the cost of betrayal. The impact on Ridge was explosive, as news spread through Los Angeles' fashion circles that Eric, Hope, Dick, and R.J. were all joining Katie's new company. Ridge felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal. The man who had pushed his own father toward retirement now watched as that father walked directly into a competitor's arms, energized, purposeful, and no longer willing to be sidelined. Ridge's anger wasn't merely professional. It was personal and visceral. He had envisioned a smooth transition with himself at the helm of Forrester Creations, building on the legacy his father had created. Instead, he found himself fractured from his father, estranged from his daughter, and facing an industry rival whose primary weapon was the very talent Ridge had tried to suppress. "How could you do this to me?" Ridge had demanded when he confronted Eric. "To your own family? You're working for Katie now. You're working with her against me?" Eric's response was quiet but resolute. "No, Ridge, I'm not working against you. I'm working for myself, for my passion, for my purpose. You gave me no choice. You tried to erase me, and I refused to disappear quietly." The rift between father and son had never seemed wider. Ridge felt genuinely betrayed, as if everyone he cared about had conspired against him. The company he had spent years developing seemed to be crumbling around him, not through external competition, but through the defection of his own blood. The new era begins. Meanwhile, Katie's fashion house was taking shape with remarkable speed. With Eric's legendary status and creative brilliance, Hope's youthful vision, Dick's innovative energy, and R.J.'s fresh perspective, the new company possessed something Forrester was increasingly lacking: unity of purpose. These designers weren't working because they had to. They were working because they wanted to, because they believed in something greater than themselves. The industry was watching closely. Retailers, fashion critics, and consumers alike were fascinated by this sudden realignment. The man who had dominated fashion for nearly 40 years, the Forrester name itself, was now challenging his own legacy from an entirely different platform. The dramatic irony wasn't lost on anyone in Los Angeles' fashion world. As Katie stood in her new office, looking over designs from Eric's first collection for the company, She felt a profound sense of vindication. She had been underestimated, sidelined, and discarded, and in response, she had built something entirely new. And in doing so, she had given Eric Forster something Ridge could never offer: respect, purpose, and the freedom to create without boundaries. The landscape of Los Angeles fashion would never be quite the same. Forrester Creations still stood as a powerhouse, but for the first time in its history, it faced genuine, formidable competition from within its own founding family. Ridge would have to decide whether he could find a way forward, or whether his pursuit of control had cost him everything that mattered. The new era had begun, and the industry was holding its breath to see what would emerge from this unprecedented rupture in one of fashion's most storied empires. Next, we will learn about the explosive drama unfolding this week on The Bold and the Beautiful as tensions reach a boiling point between Liam Spencer, Hope Logan Spencer, and the controversial designer Thomas Forrester. The fashion world of Los Angeles is about to witness a storm of jealousy, professional ambition, and romantic complications that could reshape multiple relationships and business ventures. Thomas Forrester's grand return. Matthew Atkinson makes his highly anticipated return to The Bold and the Beautiful this week, reprising his role as the talented yet troubled designer Thomas Forrester. His comeback to hope for the future couldn't come at a more critical time for the fashion line. After the unexpected departure of Dick Harrison from the design team, Hope Logan Spencer found herself in desperate need of creative direction, and Thomas stepped in to fill that void perfectly. While Hope initially struggled with disappointment over losing Dick, who had brought fresh perspectives to the collection, she quickly recognized that Thomas's unmatched design expertise and intimate knowledge of her brand vision made him irreplaceable. The chemistry between Hope and Thomas in the design studio is undeniable, not just romantically, but professionally. Thomas has an almost supernatural ability to understand Hope's aesthetic vision before she even articulates it fully. His sketches capture the essence of what hope for the future represents: modern elegance with a conscience, sustainable fashion that doesn't sacrifice style for ethics. Within days of his return, Thomas has already produced preliminary designs that have Hope buzzing with excitement about the relaunch. The collection promises to be their most ambitious yet, featuring innovative sustainable fabrics and cutting-edge silhouettes that could revolutionize the eco-friendly fashion market. Liam's growing paranoia. Liam Spencer is about to experience every husband's nightmare scenario. The ink has barely dried on his latest marriage license to Hope, and already he's watching his new bride spend countless hours behind closed doors with her charismatic ex-boyfriend. This isn't just any ex-boyfriend either. Thomas Forrester has an extensive history with Hope that includes manipulation, obsession, and genuine romantic connection. Liam's anxiety isn't entirely unfounded given their complicated past, but his reaction might end up being the very thing that drives Hope away. Sources close to the show reveal that Liam will practically take up residence at the Hope for the Future offices, inventing excuses to drop by and check on his wife. He'll bring her lunch, show up with coffee, and find reasons to linger in the design space far longer than necessary. His constant presence creates an uncomfortable atmosphere that Hope finds both suffocating and insulting. She's a successful businesswoman running a major fashion line, not a teenager who needs monitoring. The situation becomes increasingly awkward when Liam walks in on Thomas and Hope in what appears to be an intimate moment, though in reality, they're simply reviewing fabric samples and discussing hem lengths. The pattern of jealousy. Anyone who has followed The Bold and the Beautiful knows that Liam Spencer has a well-documented pattern when it comes to Thomas and Hope. His jealousy doesn't manifest as quiet concern. It erupts into dramatic confrontations and irrational behavior that often backfires spectacularly. Fans will remember the infamous cabin incident when Liam showed up uninvited and essentially slut-shamed Hope for being a single woman exploring her options. That disaster should have taught him valuable lessons about trust and respect, but apparently those lessons didn't stick. This time around, insiders suggest Liam's jealousy will reach new heights. He's expected to start making demands about Hope's work schedule, questioning why she needs to stay late at the office with Thomas, and even suggesting that their design meetings could be conducted with other people present. His behavior borders on controlling, which is ironic considering he spent years preaching about respect and partnership in marriage. Hope, who has worked incredibly hard to build her fashion empire and prove herself as a serious designer and businesswoman, is not going to take kindly to being treated like she can't be trusted around her colleague. The ultimate power play. Bold and beautiful spoilers indicate that Liam might resort to the nuclear option, an ultimatum, in what could be one of the most controversial moves in recent B&B history. Liam may actually demand that Hope leave Forrester Creations entirely and abandon the fashion line she's poured her heart and soul into building. This isn't just about asking her to limit contact with Thomas. Liam wants her to walk away from her entire professional identity and everything she's accomplished at Forrester Creations. The timing of this potential ultimatum is particularly significant because it comes right after a major development in the Spencer family business empire. Dollar Bill Spencer, Liam's wealthy and powerful father, has made the surprising decision to enter the fashion industry. This unexpected pivot represents Bill's attempt to diversify the Spencer empire beyond publishing and media. With Katie Logan at the helm of this new venture, the Spencer Fashion Company is positioned to become a legitimate competitor to Forrester Creations. Spencer Fashion, a new empire emerges. The Spencer Fashion Company represents both an opportunity and a complication. Katie Logan, with her years of experience in the fashion world and her connections throughout the industry, is the perfect person to lead this venture. She understands the market, has impeccable taste, and knows how to navigate the cutthroat world of Los Angeles fashion. Bill's financial backing gives the company unlimited resources to recruit top talent, secure premium materials, and launch aggressive marketing campaigns. Liam sees this new family business as the perfect solution to his Thomas problem. In his mind, Hope could simply transfer her talents to Spencer Fashion, where she'd be working with family in a safe, Thomas-free environment. He envisions her creating a new line under the Spencer umbrella, one that could rival or even surpass Hope for the future. What Liam fails to understand is that Hope for the Future isn't just a job, it's her baby, her legacy, her contribution to making the fashion world more ethical and sustainable. Hope's impossible choice. If Liam does present this ultimatum, Hope will face an impossible decision. On one side, there's her brand new husband, the man she's married and divorced multiple times, asking her to prove her commitment by sacrificing her career. On the other side, there's everything she's worked for professionally, her fashion line, her reputation, her relationships with the Forrester family, and yes, her working partnership with Thomas. The situation is further complicated by the fact that Hope for the Future is genuinely thriving with Thomas's design leadership. The preliminary sketches for the relaunch are generating buzz throughout the industry. Fashion bloggers are already speculating about what Hope and Thomas have in store, and pre-orders from major retailers are flooding in based solely on the reputation of this design duo. Walking away now would mean abandoning a collection at its most critical phase and potentially damaging relationships with retailers and suppliers who are counting on her. The Thomas factor. Thomas Forrester isn't making things easier. While there's no evidence he's actively trying to seduce Hope or sabotage her marriage, his natural charm and their undeniable creative chemistry create situations that look suspicious to an outsider. Thomas has matured significantly from his earlier obsessive behavior, but he's still a devastatingly handsome man who shares an intense professional passion with Hope. They finish each other's sentences in design meetings, communicate with meaningful glances, and have in creative synchronicity that's rare in the fashion world. Spoilers suggest that Thomas will be nothing but professional in his interactions with Hope, but Liam won't see it that way. Every late night at the office, every private design consultation, every laugh they share over a successful sketch will feed Liam's paranoia. The more Liam pushes, the more defensive Hope becomes, and the more appealing Thomas's drama-free professionalism seems by comparison. The fallout. Industry insiders are buzzing about where this storyline might lead. Will Hope stand her ground and refuse to abandon her life's work? Will Liam's jealousy destroy their marriage before their honeymoon phase even ends? Could Thomas's presence drive an irreparable wedge between the newlyweds? And what role will the Spencer Fashion Company play in this unfolding drama? The stakes have never been higher for these three characters. Hope must choose between her marriage and her career. Liam must decide whether trust or control is more important. And Thomas must navigate being the involuntary catalyst for marital chaos. The Bold and the Beautiful is setting up what could be one of the most compelling love triangle storylines in recent memory, with professional ambition and personal loyalty colliding in spectacular fashion.